This is a walkthrough of my daughter and my aquaponics systems that we have been working on for the past few months. It is within the house's garden area. There are two aquaponics systems, Aqua-1 and Aqua-2. Aqua-2 is quite a bit bigger, but Aqua-1 was successful first, and both represent a full aquaponics system. Where Aqua-1 does not have a significant number of fish at the moment, and Aqua-2 is building that up. This is again a snapshot of the systems about 3 months in, and with potentially hundreds of iterations, especially on Aqua-2. That is a feat of engineering, or seriously over-engineering, depending on who you ask. This first verbal walkthrough is just giving you the feel of the different parts. We are in the garden, walking through the tent, and Aqua-2 that's behind this large wall. It's actually a fireplace, outdoor fireplace. Aqua-1 is in front of the wall and gets quite a bit more sun. So that's one advantage it has. The other main advantage is that it's simple. It's the core of aquaponics, where there is a planter at the top that has plants and a tank at the bottom, and the water cycles between the two. So and bacteria processes that water, turning ammonia into nitrates and letting the plants grow off of those nitrates without adding chemicals or adding soil. Aqua-1 is conceptually powered by solar that's up on the roof. It has enough from the power in the battery. The battery isn't currently hooked up to the pump, but it's a trivial change. Both systems need testing of the water to figure out whether ammonia levels are unusually high or nitrates are low or also high. So there's a little test table for that for both systems. Aqua-2 is behind the fireplace wall and under trees, and so it's a little hard to get into depending on what direction you come from. The back entrance is where all the electronics are and where the planters are. So it's the most immediate way in. The front entrance goes straight into the tent. It has a welcome mat. So you can look for fish and look for plants in the background. Aqua-2 has two planters. Number one is the tank number one, and that they could exist on their own. And then tank number 2 and planter number 2 are in some way or another attached to tank number 1 and planter number 1. They generally function independently. The piping hooks them together such that if you turn the piping off, they wouldn't function properly. Where tank number 1 and planter number 1 can function with just each other. Tank number 2 is planted more. It has pond plants, hyacinth and lotus. Tank number 1 doesn't have any plants in it. Planter number 1 is the first one and has peas and peppers, and has still a couple more bins, sub-planters that you could add more plants to, and then planter number 2 has additional ones. The substrate for each of them are different. The whole water system is then a little complex because we're dealing with 2 tanks and 2 planters, and both enabling fish and water to travel between all of these different locations, and making sure there's sufficient water pressure and filtration occurring makes a few things a little more intricately engineered. First, the two tanks are connected with 4-inch pipes in two directions so that water can flow in and out with the current. Second, there is a special tank that's designed to work with a filter processing the water, both cleaning it potentially, not chemically, but other kinds of cleaning, and pushing it all the way to the secondary tank, fish tank. This whole system is run with a Goal Zero-based battery inverter system that is getting power from those panels that were in the very first scene. There are a number of other electronics, but in general, the system runs a pump continuously, and almost all the behavior is based on that pump. There are no current timers other than the lights inherently working through the time of day. There are sensors, and the most notable one is this sump pump sensor, which drives the filter. The filter is rarely on, but will turn on if enough water accumulates in what's called the gravity tank. A tank that doesn't have to be used, but if it is, whenever it gets full, the filter pump system will pull in the water and push it out all the way to the far end and push it through spray bars and into the far corner. The corner the furthest opposite to the pump that's pushing water all the way up to the top. So this is the largest traversal that occurs. If it's turned off, the water also gets to that same tank, but it doesn't aerate as much. It can aerate into the first tank, but it doesn't have enough force to aerate into the second. In some of the pictures, you will see that there are fish. The current level of fish is small enough that they can hide really easily. The two planters are sitting on top of tables above the tank level, and the pump in the far end was actually in one of the earlier scenes as well. Puts the water up at the top and then splits it between both planters end to end, and it comes back into the center. If it comes back into the center and the siphon is on, the water will again make it all the way to tank number 2, where you can see it coming out of what's actually a clear tube. There are a fair number of clear PVC acrylic combination tubes to make it a little easier to see what water is doing. But the bulk of the tubes connecting tanks are simply white PVC, and some of the ones inside the tanks are colored just for aesthetic effect. These are 2 skeleton butterfly koi. They're relatively recent additions. There was a third, except the raccoon killed it, and that is why there's anti-bird wire and anti-fish netting, or anti-raccoon netting on top of the tank. That's also a recent addition. Unfortunately, one day too late for that first koi. The raccoon managed to get a crayfish out too, but didn't apparently want to eat that. The wave generator is pushing water between the 2 tanks to make sure it's constantly circulating. Basically, no water in this whole system is stagnant. And the gravity tank is constantly filling with a small amount of water at minimum, and all the other planters and tanks are constantly moving water and flooding and draining. Those planters flood and drain together based on a siphon in planter number 1. And this interchange system, using larger piping, makes sure that the 2 planters have approximately the same water level. The interchange also makes it such that the gravity, pure gravity, can take water from the siphon and get it all the way to tank number 2, possibly making it to tank number 3, but I haven't tested that yet. So another aspect that you can see is that there's water always moving, and that's because the pump is pushing water up faster then the siphon can discharge it. So instead of downgrading the pump, we cycle some of the water continuously. And that's coming out in tank number 1 from the white tube that's kind of facing the camera at this point. The blue tube is based on the siphon and is again an aeration plus a full exit tube that will shut off when the top planter is drained, pretty much down to about a centimeter or 2 of water. So there's quite a bit of traversal, almost 8 inches of flood and drain in planter number 1. Planter number 2 is a little shorter in the amount of flood and drain it has due to a couple characteristics. Again, both planters are fully functional at this point. They have different tanks in them, and they have different media in them as well. So the left planter is mostly volcanic with a little bit of clay balls. The right planters are mostly clay. And there are some rocks underneath these sub-planters, and that's just to get their height to be about the same.